All right, y'all, we're going to go ahead and get started. I want to welcome all of you. I am Julie Roper, the board chair for the Gaston EDC, and I really appreciate you being here. This is an exciting event, and we're very lucky here in Gaston County, all the great things that are going on, so we appreciate you being here to share in this development roundtable. I'm going to go ahead and tell you who we have on the panel, and then I'm going to let each of them go ahead and do their presentation. But let me, does that sound bad? Sorry about that. But before I do that, I would like to have Earl Murphy, the Director of Southeast Operations for Hans Kissel. They were the sponsor for our lunch here, so I'd like to thank you for doing that and welcome.
Howdy, y'all. As she said, I'm Earl Murphy with Hans Kissel, the plant director down here. Y'all have been through the new business park over there, where the facility that's nearing completion over there. So expected to begin production mid-January. So coming to a grocery store near you, this is just a small portion of what we have to offer going forward. So hope you all enjoyed that. There should be another 200 and some items coming to the grocery stores out there. Panera Bread, Dunkin' Donuts, things like that. So welcome. If y'all didn't pick up on some of the subtle branding we had around, hopefully that sticks with you a little bit when you're going to the grocery stores. And again, thank y'all and enjoy.
We really appreciate that and hope everyone has had plenty to eat. I'm going to go ahead and just tell you who we have up here on the panel, and then we'll begin. We have right here beside me Mary Lisa Pegg with EDPNC, Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina. We have Anthony Burton from the Charlotte Regional Business Alliance. We have Tim Brown, the president of Rochling. We have Justin Curis, the vice president of Industrial Development for the Keith Corporation. We have Caleb Moore, the regional vice president of North Point Development. And we have Sloan Carmelink, vice president of business development for Edifice. So we will go ahead and start with Mary Lisa.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Thought we would start off with some energy. So before I jump into some of my remarks, I want to play a really quick video to hopefully see, so you all can kind of see how we're getting excited about North Carolina and a little bit around our marketing campaign that we've launched over the last year or two.
All in the name of work and life, like nowhere else. Wonder if the right others ever saw this coming. All in is more than just buying it. It's investing in it. Who's in on figuring that out? It's believing in her, them, him, and them. Do they look so in? Here, all in means business, and a whole lot more. Come on. This is real. Breathe, build, move, ride. You're all. It's all in North Carolina. Ranked America's top state for business.
Awesome. You guys can clap for that. All right, good stuff. So my name is Mary Lisa. I am one of the project managers at the North Carolina Economic Development Partnership. For those of you that aren't familiar with our organization, we are a public-private partnership contracted by the North Carolina Department of Commerce. So our goal is to support all of the business recruitment and retention of industry in the state of North Carolina. As you can see from the cool video that you just watched, our team does a lot more beyond that as well. We also promote North Carolina from a marketing standpoint, and then we also have the entire Visit North Carolina team that is also headquartered in our office. So we are a small but mighty team that really is doing a lot of good work around the state. Also want to say I know Melanie is here somewhere. There she is. Melanie is our existing industry manager for the greater Charlotte region. So any of the hard questions, make sure you find her. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about some of the trends that we're seeing on the economic development side. So 2022 for the state of North Carolina was a very strong year. We came in at over 150 announcements, over $15 billion in capital investment. And I'm sure, as you all know, we just saw a lot of activity. So announcements equaled activity last year. This year, full disclosure, has been a little slower. So we still have 1/4 of the year left. But as of Sunday afternoon, when I pulled these numbers, we had 78 wins for the year and about $3 billion in capital investment. So I think there's a lot of reasons why we've seen a slowdown in some of these projects actually announcing. Some of those that we've cited with consultants are around some of the interest rates that are raising. We're also seeing some of the political environment. We're going into an election year. Many times those can have an impact on economic development and what those announcements are looking like. Diving in a little further though, we have a really strong pipeline. So what we're seeing is companies are generating projects. We're just working to get those over the finish line. So should we announce all of our projects, which would be amazing, right now we've got 249 active projects with about $52 billion of capital investment tied to those projects. To give you a little bit of a breakdown here, we're seeing a really interesting breakdown in the industries that are created by those active projects. So one thing that I think is really cool, so over the last several years, EDP&C, all of our leads have primarily come from consultants. We rely on consultants to bring us projects, and we work those projects with the consultants across the entire state. What we're seeing now is actually more of our leads are being generated from our internal business development team. So just this year, this is the first year that our business development team has actually surpassed the number of leads that are coming through EDP&C as opposed to consultants who have led that number in past years. So props to the EDP&C business development team. Another interesting component that I want to make sure I point out, food, beverage, and agriculture is typically the leading industry in North Carolina and typically has the highest number of projects. However, over the last year, we have seen a major jump in our automotive projects that are considering the state. So you'll see energy and automotive are up there at 70 projects total. Again, a major change from years past. We're seeing a lot of those solar panel manufacturing type projects that are coming through the state. And of course, Austin Rouse, if any of you have worked with him on the business recruitment team who handles all of our automotive projects, he has been a very busy man for the last year. So, and then you can kind of see the further breakdown of those projects. Another one that I would want to point out here is aerospace, that we have seen a major increase in as well. Especially with the announcement of Boom Supersonic that you all saw in the last in the video. A couple of other important things that I wanted to make sure I touched on. So legislative updates. As some of you know, we finally passed a bill, or finally passed a budget, and this was significant for economic development in the state for many reasons. I chose to pick out 3 important updates here that I wanted to share with you all. So the first is the Golden Leaf Shell Building Grant at $10 million. And it's what their focus is doing is building shell buildings around the state. There are no details around how any of these programs are necessarily happening, but the core of the funding is now there. So this is really important as we hear from clients and from consultants that one of our biggest issues is access to land that is ready to go. The Mega Site Program. Many of you probably heard about the Mega Site Program. Last year's budget, they gave EDP&C a little over about $1 million to conduct a full mega site analysis around the state. What came from that was about 5 sites in the state that we felt like were mega site potential. The $10 million given in 2023 and 2024 is going to be focused on how do we acquire that land. And then the $97.8 million that's coming after that is going to be funding to ensure that the infrastructure is at the site. So again, that one is focused on mega sites. The last is the Select Site program. There are several components to the Select Site program. All of them are less than 1,000 acres, and a certain percentage of them have to be less than 100 acres. So the goal here is to find those smaller sites so that we can ensure that North Carolina, when clients come, we have sites and buildings that are ready to go. These are the legislative updates. I would also remind everyone that EDP&C was granted $30 million over a 3-year time period, so that's $10 million each year, focused on our marketing campaign. So that's what created the video you see behind me. If you go into larger markets, DC, New York, Los Angeles, you could see EDP&C like videos and commercials that are popping up as paid advertising through some of those major markets in an effort to recruit some of those companies to North Carolina and tell them what a great place North Carolina is. So there's a lot of work that's been done, and we're thankful to the legislature for their continued support of EDP&C. And with that, I will pass it on to our regional friends.
Good afternoon. So I'm Anthony Burton. I'm with the Charlotte Regional Business Alliance. We're a regional economic development organization. We work hand in hand with EDP&C and Donnie at Gaston County. So first of all, thank you all for your time this afternoon. I'm going to give you a little bit of context on the manufacturing industry in our region, in Gaston County specifically. I'm going to look at some economic development trends that I think are particularly relevant for the manufacturing industry. And then I'm going to look at some population trends, which I think are some of the most important indicators for a community. So starting off here, you can see on this graph on the right showing the share of employment in manufacturing in Gaston County versus the Charlotte Metro in North Carolina. Gaston County is at about 20% of their total employment manufacturing, about twice the share of the Charlotte Metro and North Carolina. And when you look at the GDP, it's a pretty similar trend. So Gaston County really has a really strong manufacturing industry, one of the strongest in the Charlotte region. There are about 15,000 people employed in the industry right now, with real strengths in automotive, obviously a rich history in textiles, and a strength in fabricated metal as well. When you look at where we are today compared to a few years ago, obviously a lot has changed. The manufacturing industry is no exception. We haven't quite made it back to 2019 employment levels. It's very close, but it's one industry that has kind of struggled to get back to where we were in 2019 from an employment standpoint. Obviously, that doesn't mean that we're not there from an overall production standpoint. But some industries have seen more growth and have seen quite a bit of growth. Automotive is one in Gaston County where that's definitely been true. Furniture saw some as well. And I think, as people shifted towards buying goods during the pandemic, some manufacturing sectors really benefited from that. On the other side of things, we saw a little bit of a decline in textiles and fabricated metal. But as we move forward and continue to distance ourselves from 2020 and the crisis that it was, I think it'll be interesting to see how these some industries do moving forward. So on a related note, for manufacturing announcements and economic development, one thing that we've seen is more capital investment and fewer jobs announced. This is certainly true in manufacturing nationwide. It's true in economic development nationwide. And I think it's a trend that's likely to continue. And when we see the big jump in investment, it's in a lot of the industries where you hear these massive mega projects. Our region, our state have seen some of those. Albemarle announced over $1 billion investment in their lithium processing plant just down in Chester County. Obviously, Toyota announced a massive project up in Greensboro, so we've seen some of that investment locally, but it's been a real explosion nationwide in terms of manufacturing announcements. I think one reason why some of the job announcements may be declining a little bit is obviously automation is becoming a more and more important part of the industry. There's lots of reasons for this, but one challenge that manufacturers are having is finding the workers that they need. I remember back in 2019, all we were talking about was workforce. Workforce was a major challenge for a lot of companies, a lot of manufacturers. And when you look at job openings today, even with all the economic uncertainty, job openings are up about 20%. So this is a nationwide number, but I think this gives you some context. So even with the economic uncertainty that we have, there are still some labor force challenges. That being said, job openings are down about 40% from last year, so I think that also gives you context in how challenging it was a year ago. So we have had an improved situation, but still much more challenging than even what we saw in 2019. Another thing I'll mention here is about 30% of the manufacturing workforce is over 55. So obviously, to be able to have those workers continue working, investing in automation and different types of technology to allow for more ergonomic designs for manufacturers and their employees is going to help them continue to work longer, and also just preparing for some of the workforce retiring over the next 10 years. And that kind of brings me to my last slide here, speaking about population trends. So we're living in a world that's aging. The US is aging, North Carolina, our region is aging. So it's more important than ever that we're attracting people to our region and to our community. So by 2040, it's expected that the US is going to have more deaths than births. So the only growth that we're going to have as a nation is going to be through people moving here. In North Carolina, it's a similar trend. In the Charlotte region, it's a similar trend. So it's important that we remain a community that's attracting people. Fortunately, Gaston County saw a lot of in-migration during the 2010s, about twice as many people that they saw during the 2000s. This is not really something we saw at the Charlotte region as a whole. So we actually peaked in in-migration in the 2000s rather than the 2010s. So some of the places that maybe didn't see as much in-migration in the 2000s started to see more of that in the 2010s. I think Gaston County is a good example of that. When you look at this graph here, you can see the right three bars are projections. So this is net migration projections for Gaston County over the next 3 decades. This is from the state of North Carolina. And they project that the next 3 decades are still going to actually be higher than the 2010s. So there was an increase in the 2010s, and it's projected to increase a little more and stay elevated over the next 3 decades. So from a workforce standpoint, I think that's a really good sign for this community. North Carolina obviously is attracting a lot of people as well, so that bodes well for us moving forward. In terms of people who are moving here, about 60% of the people who moved to Gaston County in the 2010s were in the prime working age. Some communities that are primarily known as retirement communities may be attracting a lot of people, but from a workforce standpoint, it may not be adding to them as much. But Gaston County has seen a good share of those people moving here in the prime working age. And then, my last point here is just the importance of net migration as we move forward and our population continues to age. But I think there's a lot of good signs from the 2010s and what's projected for Gaston County. So I hope that gives you a little bit of context of what we're seeing on the research side of things. I thank you for your time, and I'll pass it off to Tim Brown here.
Hello, everyone. Good to see everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Tim Brown. I'm the president for Roasting Industrial Gastonia. And so I'm here representing one of the local manufacturers with a long history, a lot of roots here in Gaston County. So the company was founded, it started back in the late 50s. And for those of you that don't know, the reason we're here is because our plastics, one of our main original plastics that we produce is Its properties are impact resistance and wear resistance, and it found its application in the textile industry. So that's why we're here. We grew, expanded, we've had a lot of spin-offs over the years, and other companies around that do similar products as us. But when rolling back to 1987, Roschling, which is the owner today, it's a German company out of Mannheim, Germany, bought it in 1987. Sales were about $3 million, about 50 employees, and we had one facility over on Highway 321. So a lot of changes since that time. I started in 1989. And today, it's often referred to as the big White House on 321, as you guys may see when you ride by. Today we've got 2 facilities. We have that one which we've expanded. Even most recent, not even shown in the picture, we just finished up a new press hall, another 25,000 square foot expansion. And then we have our facility in the Gaston Technology Parkway here. Today we're a little over 400,000 square feet, about 200 employees, and then we process more than 25 different polymers. So these are all polyethylenes, polypropylenes, engineering, high performance. Just so you know, we are what we like to say the good guys of plastics. We don't do any single use, any throwaway. In fact, last year we reprocessed more than 12 million pounds that we internally and some we buy back from our customers that we reprocess and sell back into products. So also just to give you an idea, when I say we're a market leader, we supply about 30 different industries. Our plastics are, we buy pellets and resin and we press it into sheets and rods, and they're machined into all different types of parts that are used in oil and gas, semiconductor. We are the market leader with the products we make in healthcare. So many different industries we supply. You wouldn't know, just our facility here in Gastonia that we are such a market leader with some of these products. This is the North American headquarters for us, including a facility in Canada. Part of the big Roschling group I mentioned out of Germany. So total sales, $2.7 billion, almost 12,000 employees. We have 92 locations in 25 countries, and then 3 big divisions, industrial, automotive, and medical, and we are part of the industrial division. Last, I think I have a video here. Okay. So a lot of this is going to speak for itself, so we'll let it play.
As we celebrate the 200th year of Roschling's presence in the industrial market, we honor the successes of the past, but our focus remains steadfast on the future. The Roschling name is synonymous with innovation, and the investments we are making will continue to drive the evolution of our industry. We are excited to showcase our growth plans and reaffirm our dedication to advancing the North American market. Roschling is making unprecedented investments to support the growing demands of our market and our customers alike, and none more expansive than our new sheet extrusion hall. With the recent acquisition of nearly 18 acres of land just across the street from our current headquarters in Gastonia, North Carolina, we plan to erect a 125,000 square foot extrusion hall in 2023. Over the next 5 years, this expansion will allow Roschling Industrial North America to more than double our current capacity in extruded sheet, facilitating up to 14 extrusion lines. The new facility will create a center of excellence for extruded sheet products, broaden our capabilities and product offerings, and improve the working environment for our team members as we continue to be an employer of choice. The new extrusion hall will also allow for continued expansion within our Susta family of products for the mechanical and high-performance market. The relocation of our existing sheet lines into the new sheet extrusion hall will open floor space with a footprint capable of more than doubling today's capacity for our Susta products. To further support the critical demands of our growing market, we are excited to announce the investment into an R&D and laboratory center at our Gastonia facility in 2023. This laboratory will allow for critical in-house testing to ASTM and other market-driven standards, and will also be used as a hub for innovation in the development of new and proprietary products for the industries we serve. We are proud to celebrate the continued advancements in the production of Polystone M UHMW products with our announcement of a new mega press, as well as 5 new rod and profile lines at our facility in Dallas, North Carolina. Our new mega press will be installed in the first quarter of 2023 and will provide much needed capacity to support the growing market demand. In addition to these capacity investments in North Carolina, we are also investing in additional sheet capacity via our Express technology in Canada. Plans to add 10 new Express sheet extruders over the next 3 to 5 years further exemplify Rocheland's dedication to the entire North American market. And we are proud to be the only domestic manufacturer of UHMW in both the US and Canada. Sheet, rod, and tube capacity investments are critical to support market growth, but sustainability remains a major focus both for Rocheland and for the industries we serve. We are investing in new blending, pulverizing, and recycling operations that will broaden our buyback program for cyclical and sustainable manufacturing processes. As your long-term partner, we will continue to invest locally in additional capacities, innovation, and sustainable products to serve you as we forge ahead in our growing partnerships for many years to come.
Okay, thank you. Just a quick update. We did finish our press hall that it mentioned in here, the big sheet press. That is up and running. It produces about 5 to 6 million pounds of product per year, so it kind of gives us another sales of probably another $10 million of product. Mentioned the big expansion that we're going to do with the 18 acres we purchased in the parkway across from our current facility. We've not broken ground yet. We have a meeting in 2 weeks. And I guess the good news there is that the reason is because they mentioned 125,000 square feet. Now we're looking at probably expanding that to 155,000 out in phase 2 to produce some other products. So it's kind of in the concept stage, and obviously that's will be more revenue and employees and everything for our company and for the county. So thank you for your time, guys.
Hey everybody, I'm Justin Curis with the Keith Corporation. We're a family office real estate developer out of Charlotte. It's about 30 years old. We've done to date about $3.5 million worth of development, with one of the largest developments we've ever done being right here in Gaston County. This video is from about, I think it's August 16th, when we were nearing completion on our 1.25 million square foot Kings Mountain Corporate Center spec building. This was a long time coming. We collaborated with the City of Kings Mountain and Gaston County to make this work. After years and years of kind of getting the site ready, this kind of became something that we needed to do after chasing several build-to-suit projects that ended up selecting other regions or other counties. That's kind of a way to bring additional development to Gaston County and the Charlotte region. So as it sits, we've completed this building. We're finishing up our speculative office that wraps up towards the end of this month. It's available and ready for lease. Kind of to Mary Lisa's point, we've seen a lot of solar groups come through, a lot of EV groups come through, but we've not been able to land them. Fortunately, we have pretty significant power capacities at this facility that allow us to likely land one of these users down the line. It was traditionally designed for more of a warehousing or distribution use. As you can see, it's a pretty generic cross-dock, but it's got all the Class A fit-outs that you come to expect from developers across the country. But at this point in time, it's still available. We anticipate knocking it out here before the end of the year. And yeah, I'll answer any questions on it later. Thanks.
How's everybody doing? Can you hear me? Usually I yell on the microphone. So my name's Caleb Moore. I'm Regional Vice President for North Point Development. So I oversee our Southeast region, which is the Carolinas, Florida, Georgia, and Alabama. So this was going to take a minute here today to kind of talk a little bit of an update on Gateway 85. Many of you guys probably see it driving down 85. This is a kind of a recent aerial that we took. You can kind of see the big building. The bomber there is Buell Brands, which you guys saw the sign up. And that was the sign that they put up probably 6 months before they would let Donnie put a press release out. So everybody along 85 knew except anybody reading the paper. So then you've got the first two buildings that we did over there for Amazon and the Postal Service, and then buildings 4 and 7 that we just turned over. So just a little bit about North Point in general. So we're a national developer. We started in 2012, so we just celebrated our 10-year anniversary. We're active in 26 states. We first started down here with the Chewy.com project up in Rowan County, and then the second project was Beach 85. So this has really been one of our big shiny stars down here in the southeast, and really helped us a jumping off point before taking on some other projects. So we just opened our Charlotte office last year. So it's just 2 of us that moved down. We've got 10 now, so we've grown quite a bit and kind of support our southeast operations. So we're a little bit different as a developer, and most people who kind of come in contact with us can kind of notice this off the cusp, but we pride ourselves in our technical background. And so we have most of our staff has some kind of construction or engineering background, and then we have a lot of services in-house. So we have our own architecture firm, we have a civil firm in-house, and then we have a data firm. And the data firm really helps us when we're talking about tenants, because data is so important. And understanding labor is a big one, understanding why one site works better than another in terms of labor, but then also travel distances and how many trucks and population that you can fit or feed from a certain facility. So we take a lot of pride in that. And then, as far as our core values, one thing we really like is we live generously, and we've really been able to get back into communities and that we're building, and that's something really exciting for us. So we've got a couple pictures where we helped the city of Lowell with their community park across from City Hall last year. So that's just something that's really important to us and something that we really enjoy and have benefited a lot from, especially in Gaston County, just growing really strong relationships with the city of Gaston and the city of Lowell, and really being able to give back to those folks as we continue on with our project. So North Point in the Carolinas, so you can see here we've got about 7 million feet on the ground right now. We've got another 3 million feet under construction, and then currently in our own pipeline, we've got another 8 million feet that we could put up. So you can see Gateway 85, which we'll talk a little bit more about here in a second. We've got the one building up there in Salisbury across from the Chewy project. We've got 4 buildings going on in Kernersville right now for about 1.5 million feet total. And then we just completed our first building at Park 4077, which is up in Statesville. We've got 2 projects under construction in Spartanburg, and then we've got a pretty large park down in Berkeley County outside of Charleston. So very proud of kind of the growth that we've seen down in the Carolinas here in the past few years. So this is kind of the master plan of Gateway. So, as we talked about the updates, so you've got, exit 21 that feeds up to Aberdeen. So we just completed the road improvements that you guys might have noticed driving through there at Cox and Aberdeen. You come in, we have our first 2 buildings. So we closed on the ground in 2020. Those 2 buildings wrapped up in December of 21, and then the smaller building is leased by Amazon, and the larger building leased by the Postal Service. The Postal Service is gearing up to actually start their operations here in the next month or so, putting a huge investment into that building, putting a substation there with Duke Energy for power, because power is so important to a lot of these tenants. But I think that's always unique, because you think a lot, when you talk about power, you think of these big manufacturing users. Well, I mean, the Postal Service isn't really manufacturing anything except for headaches occasionally. You don't get a package, but power is so important. Newell brand, so we kicked that one off in September of 21. That wrapped up in September of 22. That's 1.5 million square feet under one roof. The city line between Lowell and Gastonia actually run through it. So if you start on one building in Gastonia, you can walk to the other end and you're in Lowell. So pretty unique. And then buildings 4 and 7 we just wrapped up last month. So building 4 is a 250,000 foot spec, and building 7 is 700,000 foot. So those are available for lease. And then we've got another call it 1 million feet between 5, 6, and 8 that we can build out here in the near future. The other bit of news here on Aberdeen Boulevard, you can kind of see up by building 8 that kind of wraps around. If you've driven by there, you can see that we've started construction on the Aberdeen extension, which ties into Kenworthy down in Lowell. So that's actually going to give us access through the other side of the park to exit 22. So this park will have access to 85 via exit 22 and 21 off 85. So we think that's going to help a lot just to benefit the tenants, but also just to help a lot of the congestion up there on Cox Road that you see today. So just at a glance, we got about 400 acres here, 4.5 million square feet, which is 77 football fields under roof, which I think is pretty impressive. Total investment, a little over a third of $1 billion, 370 million. We're estimating to create around 1,700 full-time jobs between all the buildings and build out. And then just through the first 3 phases for the land basis for tax valuation, we've increased that basis 137 times. So that's a huge benefit, obviously, to the county as we go and kind of convert that into industrial space. So lastly, I just wanted to kind of cover, why Gaston County, because I think this is a question that comes up a lot, is why do we choose one site versus the other? There's plenty of sites out there. There's a lot of sites that have interstate access. Why would we choose to do business in Gaston County versus a similar county? And there's a lot of reasons, but I just boiled it down to kind of 3. And, one being location. Obviously, it's along 85, huge corridor running between Atlanta and Charlotte. That has a ton of industrial activity. Picks up in Spartanburg, where you have the intermodal. So 85 is a really, really powerful thoroughfare in the southeast. So from our location, we can reach a population of 160 million people in a 12-hour drive, which is really important to our tenants. So when they're having a shipment go out, to know that you can reach that kind of population with a 12-hour drive is really important. And then another one that I don't think is talked about enough is just the community itself. When we have a lot of tenants and you look at what upgrades they're doing in their buildings, why are they putting air conditioning in? Well, they're not putting air conditioning in because they want to pay an extra $6 a foot. They're putting it in because of employee retention. They want their facility to be nicer than the other facility because wages can differ by a quarter to 50 cents, and that's a big deal. And so when you have a really vibrant community where employees can live, work, and play, it's helping stick those employees in those facilities so that they can't run over into another town so they can get 25 or 50 cents more an hour. They're living and working in the place that you have your facility, and so it helps employee retention. Labor, we talked about this a little bit, but there's a 30% more concentrated operational warehouse labor pool than the national average in Gaston County. The wages are $1.30 less for forklift operator compared to the national average. And this one is surprising, but based on our data, there's actually an 84% larger operational labor pool in the airport Charlotte submarket, and substantially less competition. So from a labor perspective, Gaston County really has a lot. And whether it be manufacturing or whether it be more of the traditional warehouse and distribution, Gaston County has a lot going for it, and our tenants are very, very keyed in to these figures when they're looking at where they want to lease space. And then lastly, just municipality partnerships. We from the get-go been very supported by the leadership here, whether it be through Gaston County, through the city of Gaston, the city of Lowell. Everybody has been very engaged, very supportive of the project, which is super important when we go in and do our projects. When we have projects where there's a lot of local opposition, where residents and leaders are pretty against industrial development, and it makes it very, very difficult to develop and very, very difficult to land tenants, because a lot of times it comes down to timing on permitting. And when there's really a reluctance to support it, it just makes the job a lot harder. And so we just appreciate projects like this where we just have support, across the board, and really have been supported along the way. Great collaboration between the city of Gastonia, Lowell, and Gaston County. Like I said, we've got city lines running through our buildings, so they can be a little bit interesting on how to handle that. But it has really been a great collaboration between those 3 and us, and really haven't had any issues so far. And then just open lines of communication to all the leadership has been huge. So just a little bit why we chose Gaston County, and just a little bit of update on Gateway. So I'll turn it over to Sloan.
Good afternoon. I'm Sloan Cormeling with Edifice General Contractors, and I'm really happy to be here today. We're going to start off with a video.
We're Edifice. We bring art and science together to manage construction projects big and small. We're passionate about creating buildings, building communities, and cultivating relationships. We provide our clients with a single point of contact and a thoughtful, open book approach throughout the entire process. Our team is there every step of the way, from the very beginning when your project is just an idea, all the way until you move in and beyond. We are creative problem solvers who make the entire construction process an exceptional and enjoyable experience.
We're more than brick and mortar.
Our work allows us to create lifelong partnerships and attracts companies from all over the world to the Carolinas, so they can create new jobs and make it an even better place to live, work, and play. Oh, and speaking of new jobs and growth,
We do that too.
we hire and partner with a large, diverse workforce of subcontractors who have become our trusted colleagues, collaborators, and friends. Put us all together, and you're guaranteed a job site that's clean, safe, and efficient. We are so dedicated to each and every project that, since 1978, our philosophy has always been,
Never walk away.
Never walk away.
Never walk away.
it means Edifice is committed to every building we build and every client we partner with for the long haul. Never walk away represents a way of doing business that's all about dedication, passion, and integrity, while consistently achieving the highest industry standards.
This kind of commitment gets results. Big ones.
We've been voted General Contractor of the Year and earned a 98% client satisfaction rating along the way. And when we're not busy creating the best buildings in the Carolinas, we spend our time taking care of our people and our communities.
We're more than a general contractor.
We are an ally and a partner with a proven reputation of trust for over 40 years. We're Edifice. Let's build something together. Edifice, General Contractors, the art and science of construction. We're Edifice. We bring art.
Okay, so a little recap here from the video. We've been in business for 45 years. We are truly a local contractor. We are North Carolina born and grown. We also have offices in Greenville, South Carolina, and Charleston, South Carolina. 165 employees, and we're nimble. Our projects range anywhere from $5 million to $250 million. We're very fortunate to be diverse in the market sectors that we serve, but today we're going to focus on industrial. We have over 18 million square feet of industrial facilities built right here in the Carolinas, and over 70% of our revenue is with multinational companies, many of them who have never built a building in the United States before. So, whether you've known it or not, you have seen a lot of Edifice's projects right here in Gaston County. Currently, we have 7 projects in progress and have completed $115 million worth of work right here. Some of those projects include Rankin USA, GNT, the Warlick YMCA, Ashley Women's Center, and around 20 projects with Claremont Health, Belmont Rec Center, St. Joseph College Seminary, Mount Holly Medical Park, and Southridge Industrial. We also love working in Gaston County. Your local officials are so refreshing and a pleasure to partner with, to echo what Caleb said. Okay, let's talk about current trends in construction. So we are seeing more of a leveling off right now, which is not a bad thing. There are fewer headwinds right now, and we're expecting that to continue in 2024. Material lead times have normalized overall. The exception to that is still electrical components. Gear, large panels, we're still seeing around 12 months out. They are currently the most unpredictable item, especially for a service that's over 2,000 amps. We are also seeing an increased ask by our owners for vehicle charging stations. A lot of people are putting in the conduit and everything and not hooking up the chargers. I don't know if any of our developer friends are seeing that or working through that, but we think that the next debate will be if employers are going to offer free charging while you're at work, or if you are going to be required to fill up, to pay while you're filling up at work. But overall, we believe that 2024 is going to be a really good time to build a building. Steel pricing has decreased a few dollars per square foot in recent months, which makes a huge impact on the projects that we build, specifically industrial. We have seen a short-term increase in asphalt paving, but overall, we feel that our subcontractors are trying to build their backlog. We are seeing an increased participation in all trades for our request for pricing, and that means lower cost for all of you. Thank you.
All right, at this time, we're going to go ahead and turn it over to the audience to ask any questions. Is it still making that noise? I need to stop using this. It's been interesting to get this update from all of you to find out what's going on and the reason why Gaston County is such an exciting place to be and all the great things that we have going on. And so does anyone out in the audience have any questions that they want to ask any of the panelists? If you don't have some, I have some questions. There we go. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. On the industrial side, I know that multifamily, in my opinion, is probably overbuilt in this area. It's showing that nationally. I think the industrial distribution space is currently overbuilt or soon to be.
Anybody jump in?
Anyone want to take that?
Is this working?
No, it's not.
Yeah, I mean, to answer your question, yes. I think coming out of COVID, industrial went on a boom because everybody saw the demand that there was, whether e-commerce or just-in-time delivery. So we had a huge influx of delivery over the last 2 years. Problem being is that what's happened in the economic market, I think, has slowed down tenant demand. And so what we're seeing a ton of deliveries here recently, and we're seeing a slowdown in tenant demand. Now, what I think we're going to see is we're going to actually start to see that tenant demand pick up through 2024. And I think industrial development is also going to slow down with the increase in interest rates. So I think it's been overbuilt for a period here where you're going to have lesser demand and you're going to have more deliveries, but I do think it's going to self-correct itself because I think the supply is going to slow down with how interest rates are trending.
One other thing I would add to that too is that I think we're seeing so many of our companies that are coming through that are asking to own their own building, and so therefore it becomes a challenge when look at the Apple Creek Center, for example, such a popular spot for industrial locations, but at the same time, it's one of the only public-owned lands that people have, that customers and clients have access to. And so some of the legislative updates, the goal there is that the locals would own the land so that it opens up that opportunity again for there to be some sort of ownership by the client as opposed to leasing a facility back.
Great, thank you. Does anyone else have any questions?
Just curious to see in your conversations with prospects, the last few years, you've heard a lot about workforce, and of course that's a big issue still. But are you getting more questions about power availability with all these electric vehicle and automotive projects?
Literally while I was on the ride over here, I was having a conversation. Where's our friends from Duke Energy? I'm sure they're in here. Sorry, I feel like I should even pass this back to them. But yes, Danielle, you would do a better job of this than me. But I think if you'd asked me that question like 2 years ago, 10 megawatts was a big project. I'm working a project with Danielle's team right now where they're looking for 525 megawatts. in the next like 6 years. It's insane. John Nelms on the Duke Energy team uses that analogy a lot of, look, this was a lot, a couple years ago. We're seeing just crazy demand on the power side right now. So it's definitely a major driver. I do have to say though, workforce is still the #1 question asked by clients. And as you all are thinking about how you're identifying with workforce in the greater Charlotte region, I almost think clients are wanting almost a Gantt chart of, okay, if I announce this tomorrow, tell me what we're going to do so that you can help me ensure that I'm going to find the workforce that I need. I think the state of North Carolina has gotten really creative with a lot of the things that we're doing. We've launched new programs at the state level to support workforce, but it is still the #1 question that clients are asking.
Does anyone else want to?
I'll add. Yeah, I think on the workforce standpoint, not only are they really concerned about today, but they're concerned about tomorrow. I mean, I showed that slide showing the age of the manufacturing workforce, and that's why I think events like this and Manufacturing Week are so important, to be able to get the word out to current high school students who's going to be the manufacturing workforce of tomorrow about how good of an industry this can be to work in. It's certainly changed a lot. It's going to continue to change a lot, and I think become more appealing to work in. But for prospects, it's important that they know we're doing everything we can to try to fill that pipeline. I think our region in Gaston County in particular are doing a great job with that.
Does anyone else want to add to that, Tim?
I'll make a comment. So as I mentioned, a local manufacturer, we've got about 250 local employees. And certainly it is a challenge, so I paid a lot of attention to your presentation. When I look at administrative positions, we really don't have an issue at all. Sales, marketing, accounting, HR, I mean, we do a really good job. The fact that we are a manufacturer, we run 24/7, nights and weekends. And when I talked about a lot of these plastics that we make, those big machines generate a lot of heat. So as we all know, it gets a little hot and humid here in the summers. And we really can't cool our factory very much because any airflow across these plastics make them warp up, and it's a quality issue. So it's always a challenge for us to kind of deal with that. We've got a lot of things in place. Show how important it is. I'm going to call him out if I can see him. My HR director's here today, Scott. Well, he moved on me. He's over there. So he's our HR director for North America, and we put a lot of. Sorry.
Sorry about that.
Sorry, can you hear me? We put
Sorry.
Can you hear now? We put a lot of time and effort into it. It is a challenge. You're right, it starts with the schools, programs with the colleges here, a lot of effort. But it is a challenge for sure.
Thank you. Does anyone else have a question from the audience? All right.
How are residential interest rates affecting corporate relocation?
That's a good question. Does anyone want to tackle that one?
I don't know that I can confidently answer that question, but I will say I think access to residential real estate is an important conversation in the site location process. It's very much asking, what affordable housing opportunities do you have for our employees that are going to be hired at these certain wages? And I mean, it's a growth. Like we are at this point, having our data friends pull data on how many houses are available, how many apartment complexes are available, how many rooms. I mean, it's getting very detailed, so you might even be able to speak to that better than I can, but I'd say that's an important component.
Yeah, I've certainly seen anecdotal articles around, challenges around getting people to relocate because they don't want to sell their house. They have an interest rate at 3%. They don't want to take one with 8%. That's a big jump. But yeah, I think housing is, a huge issue, especially for markets like us. We tout about, 113 people are moving to Charlotte every day, to the Charlotte region every day. And a natural question that comes from that is, where are these people going to live? So it is a concern. Fortunately, you know, Charlotte is seeing housing development because of that population growth, but it is a consistent kind of question. There's different ways to slice it, but the different estimates I've seen is you have to have over $100,000 from a household income to afford a median house in the Charlotte region. So that's a lot of money for a lot of people, and that's not a Charlotte-specific problem. Obviously, a lot of that cost is coming from interest rates, but I think it just speaks to the housing challenge that's affecting all our regions, including the Charlotte region, and the importance of trying to do the best we can to address it.
All right, thank you. All right, so if we have any other questions from the audience, anyone else have any? Okay, so not seeing any, I am going to ask Caleb a question. So Gateway 85 has had a huge success, obviously, landing Newell Brands and USPS and Amazon prior to completing the buildings. So do you see the same success for the remaining buildings under construction or the proposed buildings?
Does this one work?
No, the one you have to your left.
I'm going to use this one. All right. Does that work? Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, obviously we would like to think that we're going to have the same success throughout the park. I mean, I think the biggest driver, I mean, I mentioned a couple of them, but I think, we've proven time and time again that labor is there. There's a very, very strong labor pool in Gaston County. So there's really no concern. And a lot of that is just available workforce. But like I mentioned, when you compare it to the airport submarket, it's less competition. So as somebody coming in and they look at Gaston County versus the submarket, I mean, it's probably 10 times more competing companies for that same labor pool in the airport submarket than it is in Gaston County. So then you kind of expand that to location, and you go and I had an associate come out from Kansas City a couple weeks ago, and we were in the office, which is by Topgolf at 485, and I said, do you want to drive out to Gateway? And he said, yeah, sure. So we got in the car and we drove, and we were there in 20 minutes, and he goes, oh my God, I didn't realize it was that close. And I think that it does surprise some people because it's very, very close, and you kind of get out of that congestion that you can kind of get in up, down, and around 485, but you're still very close to Spartanburg and to get down to Atlanta. But you're very, very close still to the core of the market. And then I just think from lease rates in particular, if you're really rate sensitive, you can still look at Gaston County, and there could be a 50 cent to $1 discount over somewhere that's closer by the airport submarket. So then you start to combine all that, and you're like, I got great labor, I got a great location, and I can get $1 off my rent if I'm out in Gaston County. Where do you think I'm going to go? I mean, it's a no-brainer. So that's why we just think it's been such a phenomenal park for us to this point, just because we've kind of hit the trifecta there with tenants, and unless something substantially changes with that, I think we're going to see the continued success through the remainder of the park.
Great. All right, and I have a question for Sloan. So from the construction side of industrial development, what are some pros and cons of business in Gaston County currently, and what's your outlook on development in the next year or two?
Wow. So we love building in Gaston County. Your local officials are wonderful. Permitting process, timelines, all of that are just some of the best that we encounter building in both North and South Carolina. So that is very refreshing for our team. As far as industrial activity for us, I mean, in 2022, our industrial portfolio made up nearly 50% of Edifice's revenue. It was huge years for us. A lot of that was Amazon and FedEx and things like that, which has to Caleb's point, has slowed down now. But we are doing a lot of expansions for manufacturers that are doing well in both North and South Carolina. And we are partnering with a lot of people, like Mary Lisa said, that want to own their own building, or maybe it is their North American headquarters. We are seeing an increased ask for that. Spec development has slowed in the past few months for us, but we don't really know what's going to happen. With construction pricing coming down significantly, it will be interesting to see if our developer friends decide to build spec or what happens with the market there. But we still feel pretty good about the industrial market.
Thank you. We have a comment there, a question in the back.
Those tenants considering Hattiesburg, Harris, Iredell, or Gaston, something wrong with Gaston, and they decided to be Gaston County first, and then I guess for Justin, the group who are looking at your building, there's not really any other 1.2 top lanes for those spec buildings. There's big buildings that are not like that. Are most of those prospects looking at Atlanta and Nashville and Charlotte and other markets as well?
Yeah, I can start. I don't know if any of those tenants were specifically looking in Gaston. I mean, I think Newell, anytime you have a bomber of that size, you're really just looking for where can I fit a facility of this magnitude. Amazon was more of a regional play, and then the Postal Service was a little bit more regional, so not specific to Gaston. But we have had multiple RFPs and have talked to tenants here recently that it has been a Gaston play. So it really depends on what the model is. Is it kind of local distribution? Is it manufacturing, or is it more regional distribution? And I think, to this date with Amazon, Postal Service, and Newell, it's been more regional. So it hasn't been quite as focused on Gaston County, but I do think with some of the smaller product even, you're seeing a little bit more focus on being in Gaston County because that's where their distribution, exists, and that's where they're trying to grow that out.
Yeah, Brian, it seems like most of what we've seen, being the only million-plus spec building in North Carolina, has been focused on North Carolina to some extent. We've been fortunate to see a lot of projects through EDPNC or the CRBA that have kind of taken a peek at this and who have been maybe not necessarily Gaston County focused, but North Carolina focused, being we're the #1 state to do business. However, kind of with that comes a need for a greater perspective. So a lot of times these groups are entertaining the Greenville Spartanburgs or the Atlantas of the world as well. But we've found that most groups that have looked at our building, with pretty much limited exception, have wanted to be on the 85 corridor.
Does anyone else want to comment on that? All right, this is your last chance to get any questions into this esteemed panel that we have here. Well, I hope you have enjoyed all the information that they have shared with us today. It's been very interesting, and to hear your perspectives from the, seeing what's going on here and continue to see, looking a little peek into the future, what we anticipate down the road. And back to something that Caleb mentioned, it was on maybe one of his slides about an engaged and supportive local officials, but also an engaged and supportive business community. So I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. There are times when, for years, we wanted this growth to come to Gaston County, and it's here. And there's times when we really need your support. So we do things like this so we can all get to know each other and share information, and also have the opportunity to speak up and talk about our successes here in Gaston County and why it's such a great place to do business. So I again want to thank Hans Kissel for providing lunch, and I would like us to all join me in a round of applause for our panel here. All right, thanks everyone for being here. We're going to get you out, get you back to work before 1:30. Thank you so much.